My name is Gloria Leal, and I have been a member of the Austin Bar Association, formerly the Travis County Bar Association, for many years, served on various committees, and now am a member of the History and Traditions Committee, which is in charge of the Past Presidents Project, which involves interviewing past bar presidents so that they can share their experiences with us and especially for young people that may want to run in the future for either AYLA president or Austin Bar president or state bar president for that matter. It is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable former Chief Justice of Texas's 3rd District Court, located here in Austin, which has jurisdiction, I believe, over 20 counties.
24.
24 counties, and who was president of the Austin, then Travis County Bar Association from 1987 to 1988. I have known Justice Jones for many years through the Bar Association and for having supported him for the various positions that he had run for and held. He has received many awards and recognition for his service and on the court, which are too numerous to mention here. So let's just start off, Justice Jones, would you tell the bar where you're from, why and when did you decide to become a lawyer?
Well, I was born and raised right here in Austin, and have lived in Austin all but 6 years of my life. Now, the reason that I decided to become a lawyer, now there are some people that know from the age of 7 that they're going to be a lawyer. I was not one of those people.
Neither was I.
I got to where I was. Well, for one thing, you can't throw a rock in my family without hitting a lawyer. So I got to where I was about a junior in college, and I started thinking, well, what am I going to do after I graduate? There's so many lawyers in my family, I guess I'll go to law school. That was as dramatic as my decision was. And that's how I decided to be a lawyer.
Sir, and what was your education and career path before running for president of the Austin Bar?
I went to University of Texas at Austin, undergrad and law school. And then out of law school, I had a judicial clerkship in Houston for a year. And then I was with a firm, at that time it was called Bracewell and Patterson. Now it's just called the Bracewell firm. I did that as a litigator for another 5 years. And then moved back to Austin and worked again as a litigator until I ran for the Court of Appeals in 1988. The reason that I got on the board of directors is because I got to meet the incoming president of the bar at that time, whose name was John Coffey. And at one point, John said, well, Woody, would you like to be on the board of directors next year, the year I'm going to be president? I said, sure, why not? So that's how I got on the board of directors. Served there for 2 or 3 years, and then started that officer path, which happened to lead up to my being the president in 87 and 88, which was right at exactly the time I was running to be a justice on the 3rd Court of Appeals.
Did you feel that once you became president that it posed a major time challenge with you being a judge?
I remember telling the board of directors at that time, back in, I guess, 87, I said, I'm happy to go on and be the president, but I'm going to need y'all's help because I am running for the 3rd Court of Appeals, and it is going to be a stretch to do both of those jobs at the same time, and it was. But I got help from the other members of the board.
Do you remember what you consider your biggest accomplishment to be as president? And conversely, what was maybe your biggest challenge?
One of my biggest accomplishments was just to survive that year.
Yeah, well.
Because it was double duty. I did feel like it was an advantage to be the president of the Bar Association while I was running for the 3rd Court of Appeals. I felt like maybe that gave me some instant credibility.
Would you encourage involvement?
Yes, absolutely. Being a member of the Austin Bar and getting to meet other Austin lawyers, especially in the last 4 years since we've had the pandemic and people have started working from home so much, lawyers don't get to know each other like they used to. It can be very valuable, particularly to young lawyers, to meet other members of the bar. The individual sections of the Austin Bar Association, so many of them are very active. You, as a young lawyer, can meet other members who have similar practices rather than just sit at home working from home having Zoom meetings. And of course, it gives you a lot of CLE opportunities, many of which are free. So I think there are quite a few advantages.
How has the practice of law or the legal community in Austin changed since you were president?
The technological changes, oh my gosh, are just unbelievable. The growth of big law firms, the opportunities for personal interaction with other lawyers has decreased. The number of trials have decreased. It's different in a lot of ways.
How did you protect your mental health when you practiced law?
I did not always do it perfectly by any means. The thing that kept me most stable is I was committed to regular exercise. I would get up every morning and go run several miles.
Well, what advice would you give to a new incoming president?
To recognize what you are doing is a privilege, that you have been elected to leadership. You want to put your best foot forward, and everybody that I've known who has been president has done that. But it's important for new people to remember that too. Make sure that you put the legal community as well as the Austin Bar Association in the best light possible. So it's important to act honestly and with integrity. So often lawyers get caught up in the idea that winning is everything. And if a person gets caught up in that idea, they are likely to do things that are borderline unethical, if not unfair, occasionally illegal. I would counsel young lawyers to step back, look at the big picture, try to see that winning is not everything, that maintaining your integrity and your pride and your honor is more important. A lot of lawyers seem to think that if they lose, that's the end of the world. Any lawyer that thinks losing is the end of the world has not tried enough cases.
What were your biggest challenges?
I've had 2 or 3 low points in my career. One was when I was practicing as a litigator in Houston. Couldn't decide if I was unhappy because of the type of practice. Didn't feel like I particularly enjoyed litigation, or if maybe it was living in Houston. I moved back to Austin. That didn't solve the problem. I still did not like litigation. And that's when I started thinking about running for the Court of Appeals, because I had enjoyed the appellate work that I had done in Houston. And I sort of planted the seed in my mind that I might like to be an appellate justice someday. That's how I got through one low point. Another low point was I was elected in 1988 and served for a little over 12 years. And then I got an opponent in the year 2000. To make a long story short, I lost that election. I had had my career all laid out, my life plan. And so I was devastated when I lost.
So what happens when life throws you a loop like that?
In my church, we have a little saying, we plan, God laughs. In that particular instance, I was saved by Doug Alexander. He had appeared before the third court several times. The week after I lost that election, he called me and said, hey, let's have lunch. Long story short, I ended up joining his firm, which at the time was Scott Douglas and McConaughey. I did that for a few years. Several years later, then I decided, I liked being an appellate justice so much that I decided to run for Chief Justice. I had been back in private practice for 8 years, ran for Chief Justice in 2008, and served as Chief Justice from 2009 through 2014. And then I retired at the end of 2014. And then 3 years ago, I was appointed by the current Chief Justice, Darlene Byrne, to be a visiting judge. I'm back at home.
You hear about the politicization of the judiciary. Did you feel that was a problem when you were serving?
It definitely influenced the job. The Austin Bar Association does a judicial evaluation survey, and they ask them to evaluate all the judges. So they did one of those in 1999. I was the highest rated judge on the entire survey. 2 weeks later, I got an opponent from the other party. The fact that I was the highest rated judge on the survey was completely meaningless because people don't know about judges and judicial candidates. And in a general election, it's all about the political party. That's one of the real downsides to electing judges on a partisan ballot.
Thank you very much for participating in this interview and letting me be the person to interview.
Thank you, Gloria. I appreciate it.